Hi, welcome. Just going to give participants another couple of moments to join. Thanks for those of you who are already here. I'm going to wait a few more moments. We had a bunch of people register, and I know that a Monday is a challenging day, so just want to give people a little bit of time to come in. Thanks for joining us, especially after a holiday weekend and on Cyber Monday. We know that you're all very busy. While we allow time for the other participants, we will start with a couple of polls or with one poll just to get to know you a little bit better, see who's in the audience. That way we can tailor as much as possible the presentation while we go. So if you can start by letting us know your role here today. Are you attending this training as a parent, as an educator? Are you a teacher and want to learn how to support your students? Are you here as another professional, maybe a director of a preschool program or something similar? Looks like most of you are parents, which is great. This presentation is tailored for you for the most part, but for all of you who are here as professionals, hopefully you will also get helpful information that'll let you assist families through this process. Okay, we'll do another short poll before starting to see where you're all located. That should launch any moment. Right. It looks like you are mostly all in New York City. We have good borough representation, except for Staten Island. I do notice that there's at least one person who is not living in New York City. Just so that you know, this presentation is New York City focused. So unless you're moving to New York City or working with families who are in New York City, this presentation may not be relevant to you because it is about the DOE's or the New York City Public School application process. So just something to keep in mind. But yeah, great to see we have representation from Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan. This will all be relevant to you and Queens. All right, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time in waiting, so we'll get started now. Today's webinar is Applying to Kindergarten for Families of Children Born in 2020 who are scheduled to start kindergarten in September of 2025. My name is Betty Baez-Mello. I'm the director of our Early Childhood Education Project here at Advocates for Children of New York. I'm joined by our education advocate, Bree Melvin. She will be, she's been managing the polls. She'll also be managing the Q&A. So if you have any questions throughout this presentation, please make sure to put them there. Just a few things right off the top that you should know. We will be sharing these slides with you after the event. And so you will have access not only to the slides, but everything that's hyperlinked in the slides. And with that, let's get started. Okay. So just to kind of make sure you understand where we are in the process. For families of children with disabilities, you're going to be participating in two processes this year. All children born in 2020 have the right to a public school kindergarten seat for September of 2025. But for families of children with disabilities, there's also an additional process, which is kindergarten IEP, which is the process of creating the IEP, or the individualized education program, that your child will have next year. And it's the special education programs and services that your child will receive. All families will apply to kindergarten during the kindergarten admissions process. And this is how you apply to the DOE non-specialized schools. This is the process, the kindergarten admissions process is a process we're going to be covering today. So quick overview of today's training. We will do a quick introduction of AFC, who we are, what services we offer. Again, everything today is about applying to kindergarten. So we'll start with researching schools, how you know where you're zoned, what schools to apply to, how to get more information about schools. We'll go over admissions priorities, so you know the likelihood or the chances of your child receiving an offer to a school that you apply to. The application itself, how to key dates and how to go about it. Some tips, things to keep in mind as you're applying to schools. We'll briefly go over charter schools. That is a separate process from the rest of this applying to kindergarten or DOE kindergarten application process. We'll give some few points on students with disabilities, as I mentioned, who will go through a separate process as well this year, and end with resources and contacts. As I mentioned, we will be pausing. There's the Q&A function up. We'll be pausing also throughout the presentation to answer questions that may come up on the Q&A. Right. Okay, so what is Advocates for Children? AFC is an independent agency that protects the rights of all New York City students. We were founded in 1971 by a group of parents of students with disabilities, and our mission has really expanded over the years to ensure we're doing high quality or helping provide high quality education to all New York City students who face barriers either to academic success, and we focus on low income families, and we still also focus greatly on students with disability. Some of our services include our helpline. Any family that has an education related question or professionals can also call our helpline at 1-866-427-6033. It's open Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you can't get through to someone, we recommend that you leave a message and then somebody will get back to you within a couple of days. We offer free legal services to low-income families. Our capacity is limited, and so if you call our helpline and they are able to identify you as a family in need of legal services, they will help coordinate. We also offer a lot of guides and resources. We do workshops and trainings like the one we're presenting today. You can get copies of most of the materials that we have on our website. It's linked to right here. We also do policy advocacy and impact litigation, so that we're really trying to get change for large populations of students. And so in addition to working on individual issues and cases, we're also trying to either work on, with the Department of Education or work on the city and state level to have systemic change. We'll just pause quickly to see if there are any questions in the Q&A thus far. It looks like no questions yet, which is great. We'll keep going. All right, so we're gonna kick off with a quick poll just to see how much you know coming in. So during the DOE's kindergarten admissions process, you can apply to A, DOE non-specialized schools, B, charter schools, C, private schools, or D, all of the above. The poll should launch in a moment. Where I feel like we should have some Jeopardy music playing for you. It looks like most people have responded, and answers are a little split. Most people have said D, all of the above. The correct answer is A, the DOE non-specialized schools. This is a process we're going over today, so it's okay if you didn't know it coming in. But so you're aware, we're going over the DOE's kindergarten admissions process that allows you to apply to DOE or New York City public schools, and specifically the non-specialized schools, sometimes also called District 1 through 32 schools, based on their geographic location. As I mentioned, charter schools is a separate process, and we'll briefly go over that today, but you cannot apply to charter schools through the New York City public schools application, and you cannot apply to private schools. Those schools also have their separate application processes that are, for the most part, school specific. So the correct answer is A. So quick overview of the process, and we'll go into each of these more in detail, as I said, also during the agenda. We're going over the process for applying to District 1 through 32 non-specialized schools. The process starts by researching schools. You can start doing that now. You could have been doing that over the course of several months. Then this winter, you'll apply to schools, specifically starting December 10th. You'll have all the way through January 24th to complete the application. This spring, in early April, the DOE is expecting to provide offers. So you'll receive an offer to the school you ranked highest that could offer you a seat. When you receive that offer, you should accept your offer and register your child to that school. Registering does not remove your child from the wait list for any school that you ranked higher than the school that made you an offer. You can continue to hear from schools if they can offer you a seat from the wait list through the summer and sometimes even in September of 2025. As I said, this is just the quick overview. We're going to go into each one of these in more detail now. So starting with researching schools. One of the first things that we recommend you do is to find your zone school. Most children attend elementary school at their zone school. It's a school where they have the highest chance of receiving an offer, and also have higher chances of receiving offers to schools within their district. So finding your zone school and also your school district is really important, just in helping you strategize where your child is most likely to get an offer. But also it's the schools that are closest to home, and so you may already be looking for a placement in your area, right? That may be your own priority as well. So one way you can find your zone school is to go to schoolsearch.schools.nyc. This is on the Department of Education's website. You enter your home address and it'll let you know the name of your zone school and the address. You can also do that at myschools.nyc. This is also a website for the Department of Education. It includes school directories. It's the website you can use to apply to schools directly, and it can give you your zone school and other information about schools in your area. If you prefer to do this by phone, you can call 311 and they can give you the information for your zone school as well. To get to learn more about school options or schools that you're considering, you can consider going to a school's open house. You can find a schedule of tours and open houses on myschools.nyc. You'll see this website appear over and over again. It really is the website that the DOE is using to try to streamline the application process. It's where they're putting a lot of information about schools. As I noted, myschools.nyc also has an online directory. So every school is listed, and you can get pretty detailed information about schools there. We'll go over my schools in a few more slides. There's another resource called Inside Schools. This is the link to it. Inside Schools is not run by the Department of Education. It's a separate website where families leave comments about schools. So you can find reviews that other families have left about the school. That can be a little bit more candid, and some of the basic also contact information and information about the professionals at the school. Oops, apologies. Next, to understand admissions priorities, there are two other resources that we recommend. One is schools.nyc.gov/kindergarten. This is the Department of Education's website that explains the kindergarten application process. And the other is the DOE's, or the New York City Public School Admissions Guide. You'll note this is the 2024 guide. They have not updated it for this school year. I'll go over a little bit more of what's inside in this next slide. So as I mentioned, there is an admissions guide. It has not been updated for the current school year, but it's still relevant. Although the guide does not include application dates and it's not a school directory, it does have a lot of valuable information that could make it worth just taking a quick look. One of the things that it has is an overview of My Schools at NYC. So it helps you understand how to create an account and use My Schools. That can be really helpful during this process if you're not familiar with My Schools already. Many of you may be from applying to 3K and pre-K, but there are a few differences for kindergarten. So it could be a good refresher. There's a checklist that's included because it's not updated year after year. There are some blank marks where you can fill in some kind of key dates, like that the application launches December 10th and closes January 24th, right? It's available in 9 languages or 9 translations in 10, including English. And yeah, it could be a helpful resource for you as you start planning. But you cannot use it to apply directly to schools or to get any school-specific information. My Schools, on the other hand, is pretty key to use during the application process. Unless you're applying by phone or in person, most of you will be applying using My Schools at NYC. As I said, it serves as a directory, kind of a source of information, but is also how you can apply to schools online. If you can start searching for schools, even if you don't have a My Schools account. Once the application launches on December 10th, you're able to create a new account in order to apply to kindergarten. My Schools can be translated if you need that into 9 other languages, including Spanish, Chinese, French, Bengali. From My Schools, you can enter your home address, and that will give you the schools in your area. It will tell you your zoned school and also your school district, so you can look at schools that are close to home. These are also the schools that you have the highest chance of receiving an offer to. Within My Schools, you're also able to use different filters. So if you're interested, for example, in a bilingual program, you can filter for that. You can filter for gifted and talented if that's something that you're interested in, and find schools close to you that offer those programs, especially if you want to apply specifically for those programs. Okay, here is an example. When you click on a particular school, you're able to get a lot more detail on that school as well. You can get all of the contact information for the school, the transportation to the school, so bus, subway, how you get there, a quick overview, kind of like performance, accessibility, if your child needs a fully or partially accessible school that can accommodate their vision, hearing, or mobility needs. You can be able to see that or see some of that here through My Schools at NYC. And other information, like they have extended hours and after school programs. So it's a very helpful resource. Recommend you spend some time just getting to know My Schools or in doing research for schools to really rely on it. Unfortunately, there's less and less information printed. So a lot of what you can find from schools is now online. So we've talked a little bit about chances to get into different schools. That's based on kindergarten admissions priorities. And so we're going to go over now, first and foremost, with the admissions priorities for zoned schools. Most schools are zoned schools, meaning that they are giving priority to children who live in their immediate area. And so based on that, the first groups with admissions priority, group number 1 is children who live within the school zone and will have a sibling attending the school this upcoming year. So we'll have a sibling attending school for the 2025-2026 school year. The second priority group is other children who live in the zone but won't have a sibling attending. And when I say sibling, it's kind of an expansive term. It could mean it includes step siblings, foster siblings, half siblings. It's siblings who live within the same household. However, it doesn't have to be biological relationship. The next set of priorities are 3 and 4. Priority group number 3 is a sibling who will be attending the school and the child lives within the school district. So not the school zone, right? That would be priority group number 1, but a child who lives within the school district and will have a sibling attending the school next year. Then priority group number 4 is a child who will have a sibling attending the school next year, and that child lives outside of the school district. Priority group number 5 is for a child who currently attends the school's pre-K program, if the school has one, and that child lives within the district. Group number 6 is a child who's currently attending the school's pre-K program, and the child lives outside of the school's district. Group number 7 is for all other students in the district. And group number 8 is for all other students who live outside of the school district. So just looking at this admissions priority kind of briefly, you can see why sometimes it's really challenging. We hear from families who want their child to attend school close to where the parent works, and the parent works in a different borough. That child, unless they have some other connection to that school, may be in the last priority group to get an offer, right? They may be a student who lives outside of the district, who doesn't have a sibling attending the school, who did not attend the school's pre-K program. And so unless the school is able to offer seats to everyone in all the priority groups before that, it could be very challenging for that child to receive an offer through the kindergarten application process. I know that this is a lot to cover or a lot to take in, so we're going to go through a couple of exercises next to see if it's sinking in. Oh, sorry. This pop-up reminded me that for students who need an accessible school, they will receive an offer before other students in their priority group. So for example, if a school is able to admit all zone students, all children of siblings, but they only have seats for some, but not all children who currently attend the school's pre-K program, right? And live in the school district. Within that priority group, offers will first be made to children within that group who need an accessible school. And then for the other children, for all other children who currently attend the pre-K program and live in the district, they'll receive offers based on their random lottery number. And so it's kind of by chance at that point. And everyone in all of the priority groups below that, so children who are out of district and attend the pre-K program, other in-district students, other students outside of the school district, those will also be added to the wait list for the school. And if there becomes an opportunity to make them an offer, it would be done through their random kind of lottery number. Okay. As I said, a lot to take in, and so let's do a couple of exercises to see if that sinks in a little bit more. So starting with just a quick kind of trivia poll. Children are most likely to receive a kindergarten offer to A, the school they attended for pre-K, B, the school that their sibling attends, C, their zone school, or D, their top choice school. All right. It looks like a good amount of you have answered the poll, and everyone who's answered has gotten it correct. The correct answer is Z, their zoned school. Children are most likely to receive a kindergarten offer to their zoned school. Priority groups 1 and 2 are children who live within the school zone. Okay, and now to just keep checking that this is sinking in, we're gonna do a quick exercise. So the kindergarten admissions priority, we have a school, PS 123, it's a zone school. And PS 123 has 20 kindergarten seats. And all of these students applied. 10 in-district students with a sibling at the school, 5 zone students, 9 other in-district students, and 1 non-district student who attends pre-K at PS 123. Okay, so just quick math, we can see that there are 20 seats, more than 20 students applied to get admissions. So what happens? Who are the first students who will receive an offer to PS 123? Again, it's a zone school, so this is based on the admissions priorities that we just reviewed. Okay. It looks like we have a key number of you who've responded already. And most of you got this one right. The correct answer is A, zone students. This is not a trick question. I know it's basically the same question we just asked, but it's just worth repeating and reminding. For schools, for zone schools, admissions priorities are based on that list that we already want. Groups 1 and 2 are the zoned students. They are the first students to receive an offer. And that's why we generally say students are most likely to attend their zoned school. For students who live in the district, students currently attending pre-K at that program, those students are within the priority groups, but they're lower down on the list. And with respect to D, students who apply first, that was kind of maybe that was there kind of to trick some of you. Admissions offers are not first come, first serve. So any application that's received by the deadline, which is January 24th, are treated the same. There's no benefit to completing the application right on December 10th. Every and all applications received by the deadline are treated the same, and the decisions are made based on the admissions priorities that we are currently covering. Okay. Hope that helps clarify things. Please, if you have any questions about any of this, put it in the Q&A. We'll be pausing for questions in a few moments. Okay, so now we're still at PS 123. We're gonna do an exercise now to see how this all plays out, right? So PS 123 has 20 kindergarten seats. These students all applied. We already discussed that the first students to receive an offer based on priority groups are zone students. They're group 1 and 2, so they are going to receive offers first. And so we see that there are 5 zone students. There are enough seats to give them all an offer. Within the next priority group would be in district with a sibling in the group, right? That's priority group number 3. There are enough seats for all of these students to receive offers as well. Okay, so then the next priority group will be out of district with no siblings. None of them applied. Out of district with a sibling, none in that priority group applied. So we then think about what's the next priority group. The next priority group are students who attend the pre-K program. There's 1 student who within this group who applied. There's enough seats to make that student an offer. So we go now to the next priority group. That would be the 9 other in-district students. There are 9 of those students who applied. There are only 4 seats available. So we make offers to those 4. The other 5 are going to be on the school's wait list. Those 4 that did get offers, if there's a student within this priority group who needs an accessible school and PS 123 is accessible, that child will get an offer to PS 123. Within the rest, offers for those 4 were based on their random lottery number that they were assigned when you apply. So that's how school offers are made. I hope this exercise helped give you a little bit more understanding. As I said, these admissions priorities are also explained on the DOE website, and they're explained You can read more about them on each school's application page or the directory on My Schools. It will tell you which students were able to receive offers to the school last year. So you have a good chance of knowing if last year the school was only able to make offers to zoned students and your child is a out-of-district student with no sibling at the school who didn't attend the pre-K program, it's very unlikely that your child will be able to receive an offer to that school. So we went over the process for zone schools. There are some exceptions. There are schools that are not zoned, and then there are also these 3 districts where none of these schools are zoned within the district. The first is District 1 on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, District 7 in the South Bronx, and District 23 in Brownsville, Brooklyn. For these zones, as I said, all schools are non-zone schools, but there is still priority for students living within the district. And so for just a few kind of things to say specifically about these districts as well, District 1 in the Lower East Side, there's an diversity and admissions priority. It's existed for several years. It's a plan for District 1 to increase diversity in their schools by offering priority for students who meet specific criteria, including students who are low income, students in temporary housing, students of color, and some other factors. So in addition to the admissions priorities we're going to cover, District 1 does have that diversity initiative that they've been working on for a few years. And something to know about District 7 is the South Bronx is divided into a northern and southern area. So within District 7, depending on where you live, you'll have a higher priority of going to schools in the northern area if you're there than in the southern area. So those are just some quick things to know about these school districts in particular, and then going through for the non-zone school admissions priorities generally. We start with a priority for students who live in the district and have a sibling in the school, and children who live outside of the district and have a sibling in the school. Then there's a priority for students who attend the school's pre-K program. 1, if they are living within the district, and then 2, if they are outside of the school district. Then a priority for other students who live in the school district, and finally for other students who live outside of the school district. Again, for each individual school's admissions priorities, you should visit My Schools at NYC and look up that particular school. Okay, we'll pause for questions. See if there's anything in the Q&A that needs to be addressed. I'm not seeing anything in the Q&A, or actually I am now, sorry. Bree, have you answered any of these questions already? Okay, I don't hear you, Bree, if you were saying anything. So just quickly looking at the Q&A, there's a question about applying to pre-K for a child choosing 3K. We're not going to cover that process today. But yes, there is a 3K application process and a pre-K application process in addition to the kindergarten application process. So you need to apply to each of those programs when your child is eligible. Then is it possible to not receive any offers? No, but if you apply to schools, you will receive an offer. The DOE is required to provide a kindergarten seat to every child, period. And when you apply, that's your way of expressing your preference. Unfortunately, what we have seen, if you apply to just 3 schools, and your child's not able to receive an offer to any of those 3 schools, you'll receive an offer, but it may be to a different school. If you don't include your zone school, you may still receive an offer to your zone school, even if it's not one that you included in your application, even if it's not one that you prefer, because it is one that's kind of required to provide a seat for your child. So every family will receive an offer. Every child will have a seat for kindergarten. And so really encourage you to apply to as many schools as you can during this application process, or as many schools as you're interested in during this application process to express your preference. Will you receive a District 75 placement? Families do not apply to District 75 schools. For those of you who are unfamiliar, District 75 are Department of Education or New York City public schools that are specifically for children with disabilities. It's called District 75. It's not a geographic district like District 1 through 32, but it just refers to these specialized schools for students with IEPs who need special classes. There's not an application process for these schools. Families of children who are recommended for a District 75 program through that other process, through the kindergarten IEP process, the DOE will work with you to identify a school for your child, and you should receive a letter from the Department of Education, usually by June 15th for most families, letting you know which school will be able to provide your child with the services that they need. So that is a separate process from the application process. Even if you think your child may need a District 75 school next year, do recommend that you apply to kindergarten through this application process to the non-specialized schools, because it's your opportunity to express any preference in a school, and because the application will close before your child's kindergarten IEP meeting, right? So you won't know yet for sure that your child will be recommended for District 75. So you may want to, because there's a chance that your child can attend a non-specialized school, which serve students with and without disabilities, this is your opportunity to express your preference over which school that should be. And so again, we will not be talking about District 75 schools today, but we do cover District 75 in our kindergarten IEP webinars, and we have one of those scheduled for Wednesday. And the reason we do not cover that today is it's not part of this application process. And then there's a question, if there are, and sorry to be looking off camera, if there are 20 available seats and 25 zone students apply, do you get a priority if you already have a sibling there, or will it end up being the random drawing from the 25 applicants? So this is, kind of putting those slides we went over to work. If there are 25 zone students, remember even groups 1 and 2, which are zone students, it's split into 1 and 2. So the very first priority group are zone students who have a sibling who will be attending the school next year. So those students will get offers first before the other zone students who do not have a sibling or will not have a sibling attending the school. But let's say there are 25 zone students with a sibling who will be attending the school and only 20 seats, then yes, at that point, it does come down to the random kind of application number that you were assigned. Okay, it looks like those are all the questions for now. Please continue putting the questions in the Q&A. Bree should be able to respond to most of them, but I will also pause again for questions as we go. Okay, so kind of the logistics, how to apply, and the dates. So as I've mentioned, the application starts on December 10th, 2024, and it'll go through January 24th, 2025. It is not first come, first serve. All applications submitted by January 24th, 2025 will be treated the same. There are 3 ways to apply. The first way is online at myschools.nyc. Here's the link. As I mentioned, you can translate My Schools so that you can use it in up to 10 languages. You can also apply by calling 718-935-2009. That's the Department of Education's enrollment office. They're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. through 6 p.m. Or you can visit a family welcome center to apply in person. This is a link where you can find the address for the family welcome centers. For all of these application methods, you can apply in your preferred language. My school is available in 10 languages, but through the enrollment office, so by telephone or when you're visiting the Family Welcome Center, the Department of Education is able to provide translation and interpretation in over 200 languages. So you should be able to apply in your preferred language. This year, as opposed to previous years, previously the application was capped at 12. This year you can apply to as many schools as you would like. It doesn't mean you have to apply to 50 schools. If you just want to apply to 3 or 4, you have that option. But as I mentioned in response to someone's question, you can just apply to those 3, but if none of them are a school where your child has a good chance of receiving an offer, you may end up with an offer to a school that's not on your list. So just something to keep in mind is to think through your child's chances of receiving an offer and consider applying to your child's zone school if that's a school that you would be comfortable having your child attend, or just other schools within your district. Applying to gifted and talented. The gifted and talented application is part of the kindergarten admissions application. Some schools are able to offer gifted and talented programs the same way that they offer bilingual programs. And for both of these programs, you can apply not just to the school, but to these programs specifically through the kindergarten application. So what is Gifted and Talented? It is a program that offers accelerated instruction for eligible students. It can and does serve students with disabilities as well as students without disabilities. To apply to Gifted and Talented, and you can learn more about the program by clicking on this link, or you apply through the kindergarten application. You can add specific programs to your application. Again, there's an unlimited number of programs that you can apply to, so feel free to apply to as many as you'd like. Eligibility will be determined depending on where your child currently attends pre-K. If your child is currently in a DOE pre-K program, then your child's preschool teacher will evaluate your child to see if they are eligible for the Gifted and Talented program and make that recommendation to the Department of Education. If your child does not attend a Department of Education pre-K program, then the Department of Education staff will schedule a time to interview and evaluate your child to see if they're eligible. Offers to eligible family will be based on admissions priorities, right? So if they are found eligible and either the teacher or the DOE staff makes that recommendation to the Department of Education, offers to specific school programs will be made on the same eligibility factors that we've already covered. So just some tips as you're going through the application, things to consider is that you should rank schools in your order of preference. The DOE will make you one admissions offer, but they make you that offer based on the school that you ranked highest on your list that could make you an offer, right? So if you applied to 10 schools and you could receive an offer to 5 of them, the DOE will make you an offer to this school of those 5 that you ranked the highest. So rank the schools in your order that you really prefer. You do not have to rank your zone school number 1. Your child already has the highest priority of receiving an offer to that school, no matter where you rank it. So if it's not your top priority school, right? If you rather your child apply somewhere else, put that other school or those other schools before your zone school. Think about admissions priorities. You don't want to apply to schools where your child is very unlikely, or just to schools where your child is very unlikely to receive an offer. As I said, you can go on myschools.nyc. On each school's page, you can see which groups were able to receive offers last year. So if last year only zone students with siblings received an offer, and your child is an out-of-district student who attends the pre-K program, Unfortunately, it's not likely that your child will be able to receive an offer to that school. You can still put it on your application. You can rank it first if it's still your top choice school, but you may want to consider adding some additional schools to your application where your child has a higher chance or is more likely to receive an offer. Consider applying to your zone school, as it is the school that is most likely to admit your child, but again, no need to rank it as first or top 3 even if it's not your top choice. And think about transportation. I'm going to go over that in the next slide. But think about beforehand, how am I going to get my child to school? Is this actually a convenient school for us? Because this is how transportation works generally. If your child is a student with a disability and they have transportation on their IEP, then they will get transportation door to door to their school, excuse me, no matter where that school is located, right? They have transportation as a right because it is on their IEP. For other students, if they do not have transportation on their IEP, then students in kindergarten are eligible for transportation if their school is more than half a mile from home and within their school district. Now, being eligible for transportation means potentially that they can be on a school bus. It's a school to stop bus, so it's not from the curb outside of your house, but from a designated space near your home where a group of students will wait for that bus, and the bus will drop them off at school. That option is only offered if the school can offer it, right? So if there's a bus route or if there could be a bus routed to make that pickup. If the school does not have a bus route, then transportation may mean that you will get a Metro card or an Omni card for an adult to take the child to school. So transportation does not guarantee a bus unless it's on your child's IEP. Other students who qualify for school to bus, if a route exists, are students in temporary housing and students in foster care. And that's true even if they're going to a school that is, outside of the district where they live, for example. This can get a little complicated. If you have any questions, recommend that you contact the Department of Education at Early Childhood Busing at schools.nyc.gov. This is their email address. You can call this number, 718-392-8855, to speak to someone about transportation or learn more on the Department of Education's website, schools.nyc.gov/transportation. And again, if you have questions about this, please put it in the Q&A. And we will pause for questions. Okay, I'm not seeing questions in the Q&A, so I think we're good to proceed. I'm just gonna have a sip of water. Okay, so after applying, what's next? The first step, or the first you'll hear after applying, will be offers. The DOE is expecting to make offers this year around April 2nd. When you receive the offer, it'll have information for both how to accept the offer and how to register your child for the school. We recommend that you do both of those. You accept the offer and register, which means going to the school with some documentation that they need. And the reason you should do that is because it reserves your child's seat at the school for September. It does not remove your child from the wait list. The DOE automatically places your child on the wait list for any school that you ranked higher than the school that can make you an offer. So if you applied to 10 schools, you received an offer to the school that you ranked 5th, you are automatically on the wait list for the schools that you ranked 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. If one of those 4 schools is able to offer you a seat from their wait list, they will contact you. You should not reach out to those 4 schools. they will contact you. Most likely, again, if they can make you an offer, they should know throughout the summer. So you may still hear from schools throughout the summer. In some circumstances, they may not know until September. So we have heard of families who hear back from schools in September. Then you have to decide, do I take my child, at this point, your child may have only gone to school for a couple of days, but do you take your child out of that school where you had enrolled them and put them on that school you ranked higher, or do you keep your child where they are? So again, with waitlists, the school will reach out to you. And unfortunately, even if you contact them, they really aren't able to say where you stand on the wait list. So unfortunately, you would just have to wait to see if they can make you an offer. If the school that made you an offer, the school where you accepted and registered your child, creates a hardship for your family, let's say it complicates childcare, you can't take one child to school because you're waiting on the bus for the other one, or creates any medical, the school can't meet your child's medical needs, can't offer an accommodation, then you do have the option of requesting a medical and reasonable accommodation transfer. This transfer doesn't guarantee your child a placement at any particular school, but it is a transfer that's designed to try to resolve whatever that hardship is, right? And so if it's for medical reasons or accessibility reasons, definitely, then the DOE will look for a school that can provide a seat for your child that is accessible or has the medical accommodations that your child needs. If the hardship was at the school for your kindergarten child is very far away from the school for your middle schooler, and that was creating transportation complications, it could be that they can identify an elementary school closer to that middle school, but not any one in particular, or even let's say that middle school has an elementary school, but your child couldn't get a seat through the application process. This isn't kind of a way that you'll be able to get them a seat in that school if it's already full. But again, it is an option to try to alleviate whatever the hardship is, to make sure your child can attend school safely. Okay. So for registration, when you accept the offer and register your child, again, you want to reserve that seat. This all happens before school starts in September of 2025. This is the documents generally that you'll need in order to register your child. The first is a proof of your child's age. The most common ways to do this are to bring a birth certificate, passport, even a record of baptism. Then you'll need 2 proofs of address. This can be a lease, deed, mortgage statement, utility bill, rent receipt, government ID. Things that don't count, like a magazine subscription wouldn't work, or a cell phone bill, those things wouldn't count, but a utility bill, definitely. You do not need to provide proof of citizenship or a social security number to register your child. The DOE should not ask you for that information. And a note for students in temporary housing, you have a right to immediate enrollment, even if you cannot provide this documentation. So your child you can accept the offer, register your child for the school, and your child can start attending the school, even if you're not able to provide all of these documents right away. The school needs to work with you to allow you more time in order to secure these documents. So there is a grace period there. Okay. So just to check in, see if you're absorbing everything. When you accept a quick poll, when you accept a kindergarten offer and register your child at the school, you are A, taking your child off the wait list for other schools, B, reserving a seat for your child at the school, C, no longer eligible to apply to charter schools, or D, all of the above. Okay, it looks like a good amount of you have responded and most of you have gotten it right. The correct answer is B, reserving a seat for your child at that school. Some people answered D, all of the above. But reserving, when you accept the offer, it does not take your child off the wait list for other schools. Your child remains on the wait list for any school that you ranked higher than the school where you're reserving that seat. And it does not affect your charter school applications at all. Again, the charter school application is a completely different process than the DOE's kindergarten application. Speaking of which, to apply to charter schools, again, so just to define it quickly, charter schools are free public schools, but they're not run by the New York City Department of Education. They are public schools that are run by a nonprofit board of trustees, and not the DOE. You cannot apply to charter schools through the DOE application process, but many of the schools do have their own application processes, and some allow you to apply to multiple schools using the same application. So to find charter schools or find more information about charter schools, you can go to this website, NewYorkCityCharterSchools.org. You can apply to each school directly or apply to the schools who participate through the charter school kind of central application using this link. Charter schools must and do serve students with disabilities. Sometimes we get questions about families who are unsure if they should apply to charter school because their child has an IEP. Charter schools must accept students regardless of whether they are students with disabilities or have an IEP. And they do serve students and provide therapies like speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and in some cases also offer integrated classes and maybe even special classes. If your child has much more significant needs, it is something you may want to also consider other public school alternatives and not just charter schools, but you definitely have a right to apply to charter schools. And if your child receives a seat, they have a right to attend. Most applications for charter schools are due April 1st. So apply to the DOE schools first, right? You have until January 24th to apply to DOE schools, and then you have some additional time to apply to charter schools. This process is still, for most families, going to be before your child has a kindergarten IEP. So do not wait for your child's kindergarten IEP meeting to apply to charter schools if it's something that you're interested in. And then a note for students with disabilities. In addition to receiving an acceptance letter or an offer letter in April, families of students with disabilities will receive another letter on green paper, usually sometime in June. And this letter is called the school location letter. And you receive this after your child's IEP meeting. And again, for most families, around June 15th. This letter will summarize the recommendation made on your child's IEP, so the program and services that your child will receive, and it also lists the school that will be providing your child with those IEP services. If your child's IEP recommends general education, SETs, related services, an integrated co-teaching class, or a special class in a non-specialized school, then this green school location letter should list the letter that made you an offer through the kindergarten application process. We recommend that you call the school to make sure that the school can provide your child with the services on their IEP. It is your obligation to do so, but if for whatever reason they say they will not be able to offer your child those services, then we recommend that you contact the DOE right away to let them know, and you can contact them. And we'll provide you with the email addresses in a moment. You can request a new school, or you can request accommodations made at the school that made you an offer to make sure that your child can remain at that school or can attend that school with the services that they need. You can also contact us at Advocates for Children. There are situations where if the school that's written on this letter cannot provide your child with the services they need, you may be eligible for a voucher to attend a non-public school for about a year, or for 1 year. We recommend that you contact us so we can review that with you and help you determine if you're eligible. We also have more information for that process in our kindergarten transition guide, which I'll link to in the next few slides. Okay. But for most families, including students with, for most families of children with disabilities, who are the only families who will receive this letter, the school listed on the screen, school location letter, will be the same as the school that made you the admissions offer through the application process. The exceptions, the general exceptions are if your child was recommended for a District 75 school, then this is where you would receive the location for that District 75 school. You do not apply to District 75 schools. The DOE works to identify a school for you. Or if your child is recommended for an NPS, which is a state-approved non-public school, then the school location letter will recommend one of those placements. Okay. If you have questions about this, please put it in the Q&A. I'm just going to check to see if there are questions now. It looks like there are no questions, and we're just about at time. So I'm going to end with a quick kind of summary of resources. First is letting you know that you have a right to translation and interpretation, meaning documents in your language, meetings in your language as well. Translation are written documents, including letters, forms, meeting notices. This is really important also for families of students with IEPs that may have a special education meeting coming up, but also the application itself, right? And a right to interpretation at conferences, at meeting with school staff, at special education meetings. To request translation and interpretation, start by contacting your child's school, so your child's preschool now, to request documents in your language. Or if that's not working, you can fill out either one of these two forms to request translation and interpretation, or you can call 311. You'll get a copy, as I said, of all of these slides, so you'll have access to these links. For resources on the kindergarten application, we have a Applying to Kindergarten guide that's on our website. There are also many resources from the Department of Education, including My Schools at NYC, which is not just the directory, but how you can apply online. There's School Search Schools at NYC to help you find your zone school in your district. Schools.nyc.gov kindergarten. It's an overview of kindergarten on the DOE's website, including more information about the application process. And this is the admissions guide that I went over earlier as well. If you need additional support with the application process, contact a Family Welcome Center. You can apply to a Family Welcome Center. You can apply to kindergarten in person at a Family Welcome Center if that's your preference. This is where you can find those locations. There are multiple Family Welcome Centers in each borough. You can contact the DOE Office of Student Enrollment, either by email or by phone. And of course, you can reach out to us at Advocates for Children. Then there are special education resources for students with disabilities. We have a transition guide. We have webinars on that process. This Wednesday, we're doing a webinar on the kindergarten IEP. The Department of Education also has resources, including a kindergarten special education guide linked here. You can see the image here. District 75 information. I know there were a couple of questions in the Q&A about District 75. There's also information on specialized programs. We go over all of this on Wednesday's webinar. The DOE is conducting their own webinars on these processes. This is the information. Their next webinar is tomorrow, December 3rd. So you can sign up if you'd like to attend that as well. And they have pre-recorded sessions that live on their website. Thank you so much. I know that was a lot of information that we just went over. Please call us if you have any questions. Before you go, we are going to launch just one more poll so that we can get your feedback on how things went today. And that helps us make improvements to the webinar. But, you know, if anything comes up, you'll get copies of these slides. But if you have questions, you'll get a link as well so you can see the recording of this webinar again. But feel free to give us a call. As I said, our helpline is open Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can also email us at info@advocatesforchildren.org. We are happy to help. And thank you everyone for coming today and participating in this webinar. Hope you have a good week. I'll stay on to monitor the Q&A for another couple of minutes as well, if you had some last minute questions that we didn't get to.